I really want you to understand the jobs that environmental engineers do and also the different ways we can pollute. Okay, remember the different ways that water could be polluted. Water, yes, you could dump into a river, but what other two ways can water, I guess, be polluted, like a river? What did it mention in the story? So if it rains and you're not necessarily dumping into the river. What other two ways can water become polluted? Who remembers the cave field trip that we just went on? The mining. Okay. Who remembers as we were walking through the mine? What was happening? What was the temperature like? What was the weather like outside? It was kind of hot. But what was happening in the morning?
It was raining.
It was raining. And as we were in the mine, what did we notice in the mine?
Water.
Where was the water coming from?
Outside.
From outside. So the water was actually traveling through the ground, okay? So sometimes, depending on where the soil is, if you have contaminated soil, meaning that people are dumping on the ground somewhere, think of factories and things like that, and it rains. Remember the water cycle, it's a cycle. The water could either find its way back into the river through the water. So if it's going through the ground, if it's going through the ground, it's picking up anything that's in the ground. Okay, so we have the ground, and what was another way that was actually mentioned? I'm going to give you a clue with this one. Factories. How can factories, without just dumping into the water, how can they affect and how can they pollute water without actually just here's a whole bunch of garbage into the water?
Smoke.
Smoke, okay, good. Smoke travels where? In the air, okay? So the air ends up picking, remember the water cycle evaporates, goes back into the air. So as the smoke, it's picking up some of the contaminants in the air. So we have ground, air, and water. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put up a picture of a town. Okay, so I want you to think of, this might not be Jersey City, but this is definitely a town. And people live in a town. And they do different things in the town. So what I want you to think of is in your groups, because I don't want you to tell me out loud, in your groups, I want you to think of some ways that people can contaminate. Now again, we're not just talking about the Ganges River anymore. We're no longer in India. Okay, we're no longer in India. We're in a town. And what I'll do is, I'm not giving you the papers just yet, but think of different ways. Right here we have almost like a town center, a school, a bus stop, a truck, we have a factory. I want you to think of what are some ways that we pollute the ground, the air, and the water. Everyone receives a certain part of the town. Everyone has a different part of the town. Now, how are we using? I want you to, now you could actually tell me. What are some ways that we're using the ground? This time you could actually look at your paper. What are some ways that the town is using the ground?
The dump.
Okay, we have a dump. So they're using part of the ground, part of the town to dump their garbage. Kaylin?
I was going to say the dump.
The dump, Geraldi?
The carts and the road.
Okay, they build roads on the ground, so they're traveling back and forth.
In this picture it says ducks. Birds for crops.
Okay, so someone is using it as a farm. I need all eyes up here. People use ground to cultivate, to plant food, plant seeds, and harvest food. Okay, so they get food. Construction, right? They build houses. If you notice, there's houses and building. So these are some ways that we're using the ground, okay? You are going to circle different ways that people are polluting. And I want you to, I understand, it's not just the water. Think of ground, think of air, and think of water. So I want you to circle the pollutants, and I'm coming around with a small marker. Do this as a group. All eyes up here. Now you need to designate one person. One person from each group, and I want to go, your group designates one person from each group to come up and circle your findings on here. We've mentioned environmental engineers. And the environmental engineer that we met was Salila's mom, and she's helping Salila with creating a water filter, right? Well, giving the idea to create a water filter. Do environmental engineers work with other things, or do they just work with cleaning water?
Just work with cleaning water.
Other things, can you give me an example?
Like the grass and trees.
Okay, so maybe other parts of the environment, like the grass and the trees.
Forest.
So if you look up here in this one, you guys circled some pretty good ones. They circled the road, okay? And someone gave me a look like, how does the road cause, or how can it be a source of pollution? Terrell?
So like when they making the road, the black.
Okay, sometimes as they're making the road, and I heard it around here. Sebastian?
As they're driving, people drove stuff out.
Because people drive on it, okay? So there's, the fact of people throwing stuff, littering, or the smoke created from the cars. A lot of you also, which was really nice, and I saw a lot of you circled the cars and the trucks. Okay, here we have a truck, here we have the cars, the oil. So now what I want you to do is, in your group, on the back of this paper, I want you to find one source of contaminant, one of them, and I want you to list at least 3 possible solutions. So I want you to tell me, and I'm going to do it on the Active Inspire so you guys could see. Okay, you guys are going to do pollutant, and then solution. So choose one from your paper, and as a group, decide on one and discuss 3 possible solutions for that contaminant.
Cars.
Yeah, smoke that comes from cars.
Yeah, but how can we stop it?
What you say?
I said, how can we stop it though?
Like stop burning on gas.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me examples of what kind of energy source?
Like the solar panels.
Okay, so you may want to write that down. Is there anything else that we might have spoken about? Okay, I want you to think of that. If you're going to tell me use more energy sources, give me at least one example of what kind of energy source. And just for you guys, I want you to tell me why using the solar panels, you mentioned it, would be beneficial.
Because if you
Don't tell me, no. Write down. And then we'll discuss it afterwards.
Because if you use more solar panels, that means like using more energy from the sun and less
Using more energy to the sun.
Okay. So now the question is, which is good that you could change it. Now, as I was walking around, a lot of you came up with really good ideas, and a lot of you focused on really important places or important things that produce a lot of contaminants. Now, one thing I didn't get to discuss, and I'm going to discuss it really quick for you guys, is the idea, and I'm going to write the word on the board. Runoff, okay. Now, how many of you, actually, it was raining this morning, and if you looked outside, especially on the curb, as the water's draining, as the water's going to the drain pipe, to the sewer, what do you think is happening to the water as it's traveling toward the opening?
Oh, it's getting dirty.
It's getting dirty. With what?
The pipe
Wait.
in the street.
Pretty much anything that's in the street, right? Anything that's in the street. It's picking up. So that's what sometimes happens with how water gets polluted. As it's traveling, maybe not just through the ground or not underground, but as it's traveling on top of the ground, it's picking up the contaminants as it's traveling, and once it's picked up, then it goes again. It travels to the sewer, then it goes into the rivers, it goes into the oceans, and there's where sometimes we get polluted water. I want you to keep that in mind because I said tomorrow we're actually going to be getting knee deep into our design challenge. What do you think we're going to be creating? Raise your hand. I hear a whole bunch of yelling. A water filter. Okay, we're going to be creating a water filter. Okay, so I think we're done for today. Okay, nice job. One of the main points that I would like my students to take from this lesson is that pollution is not just man-made. They might automatically think of pollution as a car or someone dumping trash, but they don't see pollution as animals using, a river, or just smoke from cooking. They see that as, well, that's something that we do, that we need. So it's good that they understand that even though there are created, their pollution's created differently, they do cause harm. So I think it's very important for them to understand that. I actually had each group do a different part, which I think was nice because they knew that they had their own part. They didn't have to share with another group. So it was unique to them. And they really had a good time discussing possible, because I remember walking around and hearing them say, no, this is it because it does this. So they were actually using what they learned in the lesson to circle the different contaminants that they found.